Alright, so today's project then, I'm going to be doing a background technique, and then because I don't just like making backgrounds because I like a finished project, I'm going to use it to, this is the technique we're going to do, it's a resist technique with some stamping and a little bit of doodling as well. So I'm going to make a card out of it and hopefully also a bookmark using the same background. So that's the plan, we'll see how it goes, see how we do for time. So I'm going to be working, this is just a piece of medium weight cardstock, it is 260 GSM I think, 260 or 270. And we're going to be using some of the Finnabar stencils, so I've got two different stencils here, one is the stars and one is the Harlequin or diamonds. So I'll just show you the item numbers for those. So this is the Harlequin, the item number is 961312, and again that's from the Elementals collection by Finnabar. And the other one, in case I forget later to show the item number, this is 961305, and that is the stars from the same collection. And we're going to be working to create a resist with the heavy gesso, so that is the first thing I'm going to be using. And usually what I like to do is just take a small amount on a palette knife and put it in the lid to work with, because you can spread it out and get a smaller amount on your sponge, I find. Otherwise you can get too much on the sponge, and this is just a piece of cut and dry foam. You can get too much on the sponge and then it tends to seep through the stencil. So I'm trying to find a part of the stencil that hasn't actually got ink on, because that will definitely bleed through. So I'm just placing the stencil on the card, and you're probably not going to see very much of this because it's white on white, and I'm hoping the focus stays fairly accurate. Cameras don't like white, as I'm sure you all know. And I'm just sponging through some of the gesso randomly in a few places, so I'm not going over the whole stencil for this. And I don't know whether you'll be able to see it's picked up some ink, but that's okay. I don't know. Yeah, you can just about see that, and it's out of focus. Let me just bring that focus back. Okay, so I'll just move on and do a little bit more of that. And try not to, what I should have done really is wash the stencil, but I never. So it is picking up, it's picking up a little bit of ink, but to be honest, they're the colours of ink that I'm going to use anyway, so it doesn't matter too much, as long as it's not completely covered in ink, because obviously it's supposed to be a resist technique. Okay, I'll go for this one here. It's picked up a little bit of yellow, but oh well. Alright, so now I'm going to switch stencil and go for the stars. I might just dry that off very quickly, it'll just make things a little bit easier. So if you've got headphones in, you might want to turn your volume down while I put the heat gun on for a second. Only takes a second really to dry. Right, I'm going to put some stars on this as well. So I'm just going to put a little more gesso into the lid. Alright, let's see if we can get these a little bit whiter than before. So I do need to look where the Harlequin design is. Not that it matters too much if I go over some of it, but I don't want to cover it completely. So I'm using most of the larger stars on here, just because they stand out a little bit more. Some of the smaller ones I use to fill in the spaces where I think it needs it, but the larger ones are really going to be better for this technique. And this is an old technique, this is nothing new, I resist. It's good to go back to some of the old things every now and then. Okay. Right, nearly there, and then the fun part starts where we start adding some colour to it. That's not too bad, I don't think. That's going to go yellow, I think. Let's just take a look. Just put one more towards the top, I think, where it's looking a little bare. I know you guys probably can't see very much right now, but you will do shortly. Okay. Oh, that's not too bad actually. You can see pretty well from there. You can see where it's picked up the yellow, but we're not going to worry about that. Okay, I'm just going to wipe off my palette knife and dry this, and then we'll move on to putting some ink on there. A little tip while I was just closing this, which I haven't done very well, but if you don't know, if you have problems, if you get gesso or with the gel mediums, this works as well. If you get it all over the lid and then you try and open it a day later, or even a few hours later sometimes, and the lid gets stuck, if you put a layer of petroleum jelly around it, just around the lid, it stops it from sticking, which I need to do with that one because I'm not very yeah, I get a little bit clumsy with the palette knife and it gets everywhere. Okay, right, it's probably almost dry, but I'll just give it a blast with the heat gun. Not too bad. Normally I'd let this naturally dry because yeah, it only takes a couple of minutes, really. It's just for the sake of you guys not sitting watching paint dry. I'm using the heat gun, but it's fairly fast drying. And you could also do this with the transparent gel as well, but that does take a long time to dry, so it wasn't really suitable to use that tonight for a live broadcast. I'm not sure how it reacts with heat to the gel, but the clear transparent gel has a really nice effect. I really like that. It's got a glossy finish to it, so a different kind of resist if you wanted to use that instead, or as well as. Right, ink then. I'm just going to use some distress ink for this, and I've chosen 3 colours that are going to work well together. If you put primary colours together, they're always going to blend well together. So I've got a blue, which is Salty Ocean, and yellow, which is Fossilised Amber, and it's pink, not red, but the picked raspberry from the distress line. And again, I'm using these with a piece of cut and dry foam. I'm just going to blend it all over, not worrying about the areas with the gesso on. So once I'm happy with the colour blend on here, then we can take a baby wipe and rub some of that ink off if we want a better resist. But you can see that it's resisting anyway. So this will probably only take a couple of minutes. And I apologise if the camera starts rocking because the I can feel the table moving when I'm trying to blend this, so I'll try and keep that to a minimum. Okay, let's go for the pink next, and then we'll leave the yellow till last. So if I overlap this with the blue, obviously I'm going to get some purple tones coming into this. I'll show you that. I don't know how well the camera picks up that, but it's it looks a lot more purple in real life. It looks a little bit muddy on camera for some reason. I don't know whether that's just from my end or how it's translating to you guys as well, but it's definitely purple. I like to work in sections when I'm doing this, so I usually go for 3 separate areas of colour, although once this is cut up, you know, you may not get those 3 separate areas, but it's good to start off that way and make it appear more balanced. Alright, so now I'm going to go for the yellow. No comment on that, Eileen. So now I'm going to, if I overlap these, I'm getting some green and some orange brought into that as well. And I may just bring this blue down a little bit more. Okay. That's not looking too bad. So that's what we've got so far. So you can see the resist, but it's not as white as you can get it. What I would normally do, in fact I might just do it, I would normally go over this twice just to really brighten those colours up, so I think we'll have time. And it's worth doing before you move on to the next step, because when you take a baby wipe to it, you're probably going to remove some of the ink from the paper as well as the gessoed areas. So we'll just deepen it up a little bit. And I do like it as bright as possible for this technique. But, you know, you can do it with any kind of colours. You can do it with pastel colours. It's still going to pop. It's still going to have a resist there. So you can tailor it to whatever your personal taste is, palette-wise. Okay, the other thing is, now I'm going to stamp over the top of this shortly, but if you wanted to leave it like this, you probably want to make sure you're not putting your fingers in it like I am, because you can leave fingerprints in it if you've got oils on your hands. That's looking pretty bright now. So I don't know whether it shows much improvement in the camera or not. I always think the colours are slightly different when you're broadcasting from when you're watching it, so it's kind of hard to see what everyone else can see sometimes. No, I did have a baby wipe. Let me just dry this ink again before I take a baby wipe to it. Alright, so I'm taking a baby wipe now and I'm just putting it over my finger. Now if you get it on the card, it is going to lift the ink from the card as well. To be honest, I don't think there's a way you can avoid that totally. But if you look now, you can see the difference, how white it comes up. So the Harlequins, the diamonds are pretty easy to do because the straight lines, the stars are a little bit harder to do. But if you take it off the card, you know, it doesn't matter. Stamping over it, it's a pretty distressed kind of technique anyway. And you just need to keep switching to a cleaner area on the baby wipe so that you are actually still removing the colour. Thanks, Linda. So I go all quiet when I'm doing this because I'm concentrating trying to not take the ink off the card. I could put the stencil back on, Pablo. I absolutely could if I cleaned it, but it's got ink all over it to begin with. So yeah, if you clean your stencils, that would be an awesome idea and make life a lot easier. And there are a couple of little tiny stars that I don't think are going to resist very well because I wasn't intentionally putting gesso on them, they just caught a little bit when I was doing the ones next to them, so I don't think they'll show up. Just trying to find some clean areas now. Okay. I think I might need to get a clean baby wipe shortly. Yeah, let's switch that over. It's, I think it's putting more ink back on than it's taking off now. You really like the stars and the diamonds, Eileen. I really like these stencils. I think these are my two favourite Prima stencils. And I think they're shapes that are really versatile as well. You can use them in so many different projects. Okay, we're nearly there. I think drying the ink with a heat gun really helps, because when I did the originals I didn't dry the ink with a heat gun. I just left it to dry naturally, and I did notice it lifting more than what it is today. So maybe if you use a heat gun on the ink, it's you're not going to have to be as careful. Okay, that's the last bit, I think. Right, let me put them to one side. So that's what I have now. Let me get that quite close so you can see. So those little ones where it was just overspill, if you like. I didn't intentionally put gesso on those stars, so they didn't come out very well, which is fine. They weren't supposed to be there. That one could do with a bit more taken off, couldn't it? I've just noticed. But the rest have come out really well. Mind you, that one might have been one of the ones that had some colour on it to begin with. That's pretty cool. Alright, so next I'm going to add some stamping and some more stenciling to it. So if you look on this is the sample. You see that I used the same stencils again. So there's some of the stars in blue there, and there's some of the diamonds in the pink ink again. And then on the bookmark, there's some of the diamonds in the blue and stars in pink and blue. So I just took the same colour inks and basically put them in the same areas that they were before, but next to a white stenciled area. So we are going to cover up some of the resist. So for example, let's take the diamonds. So this area here is blue. So I'm going to take the stencil and put it next to the one in the resist, and maybe a little bit higher than that one, and just overlapping it, and then take the blue ink again and just pounce that on quite heavily, because obviously it's got to compete with that resist, and that area, you know, is going to hold that resist. It's going to be lighter still in that area. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple more of those, and this is just the beginning of starting to fill in some of these spaces and starting it to look a little bit more interesting and create some more depth to it. Okay, so I've got 3 in the blue. I'm going to switch to pink and repeat that. So I'm probably not going to do any in the yellow for the simple reason it just doesn't show up very well, because it's, you know, such a light colour. So those 3 areas are overlapping with the pink anyway. So that's what we'll use. And one more over here. I might just do this. There's one in the middle that's not really going into a pink area, but that's okay. I'm just checking where the bare spots are, so it's overlapping more into the yellow area, so it might end up a little bit more orange, but that's fine. Actually, it's held its colour pretty true. Okay, now I'm going to swap stencil and do exactly the same thing, but with the stars this time. So I'm going to take the pink to begin with, seeing as that spot I've got out. And I'm just using any size stars for this, not necessarily the same size as the star next to it that I'm overlapping. And then some blue. That one in pink. Okay, so that's everything more or less overlapped. I've left a couple. I think there's a few stars on there that not got anything overlapping on them. But I'm going to use now some of the very small stars and just fill in a couple of gaps where there's absolutely nothing. So there's quite a large space here, for example. So maybe I might try the yellow in that area because it is quite yellow. And if it doesn't pick up, then we'll switch to the pink. So I kind of want these smaller ones to be more tone on tone, really, because we are going to stamp over it. Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, let's create some blue ones over here. And a few pink ones. Okay, we're getting there. I'll just put a few blue ones over the yellow, so they might go a little green, but that's okay. Let's do a couple more yellow ones down here, and then we'll call it done. Or we'll call this part done, should I say. Alright. There we go. That's what we have so far. So now I need to try that again, and we shall start putting some stamping on there. Bye Darcy, enjoy dinner. Thanks for coming over. Alright, so stamps. I've got 2 different stamps here. So the first one is from the Engraver collection, I think. I'll show you the item number in a minute. Okay, so that's the stamp, which is really nice text. I love this stamp. And the item number is 563042. And I'm not going to use this stamping block for this because I just want parts of this to be transferred onto here, so it's more of a distressed look. What I don't want is square edges, because personally I don't like them at all, so I just tend to use little fragments of the stamps. So same inks, and I probably didn't clean it last time I used it, so we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to randomly stamp. I'm just pressing in the very centre. And keeping it pretty tone on tone again, so yellow ink, yellow areas. And just overlapping it slightly. Okay. So you can see you've just got the centre of that stamp really with no harsh edges, so it looks more blended and more, you know, integrated into that background rather than just square edge stuck on top of it. Then some pink. And I didn't clean it, so we could transfer some of the yellow onto the pink areas, which would make orange, and that's totally fine. If you wanted to clean it in between, you can totally do that too. Okay, I think I'll switch to blue. I don't want to put too much pink on, and again, we're not cleaning it. And what I like to do is those white areas, if you get some of the stamped image on there, that really pops then. You know, we're not trying to cover it totally, because that's not really the point of doing a resist, but just some of your stamping on there can look quite cool. Right. I think that's okay. Okay. Now let me show you that close up so you can see, hopefully, what that looks like. I think there's my light is right next to this camera, and I think it's throwing the colour a little bit, but hopefully you can see all 3 of those inks on there. And the next stamp is a Splatter Stamp, this one here. I think you can see it better when it's out of the packet actually. This is, hang on, let me take this out and then I'll show you. So it's the Firefly, and the item is 560,799. Thanks, Lynn. And okay, now you can see it better, I think. So same thing again. I'm just, you know, I mean, it's not really got harsh edges, but I don't want the same edge stamped over and over, so I'm just going to press down small areas. Now I'm switching ink now. I'm going to use a black ink for this. I'm using archival ink because I know it's going to dry over those gessoed areas without smudging, and because black's such a harsh colour, it doesn't really matter if the distress ink, you know, doesn't dry as quickly as I want it to. But black ink, I don't really want that smudging everywhere. So I'm just inking up. Can you see that? You can see just a small amount of that stamp that I've inked up. Hopefully you can. It's getting a bit of glare, but you can just see that the black areas now. It's probably dried already. So just a very small amount of this, because black is such an overpowering colour and it's easy to get carried away and put too much on. So I'm just really going for areas that look like they need that little bit extra. And if you turn it around as well, it avoids it looking samey, you know. And you can leave this step off if you don't like black on things. You can totally leave this step off. Alright. That's what it looks like. So I really like the black. I like that contrast against bright colours. I hope that's translating well. I don't know if you can see. There you go. You can see how black it is now. So that's cool. That's that step done, more or less. Now, let me just wipe the ink from here. Thanks, Linda and Eileen. Alright, I'm just trying to figure out, because when I made the samples, I did all the elements on here before I attached it to the card, but because we're going to be pressed for time, we don't have 2 hours to wait for glittery things to dry. So I think I'm probably better cutting out the card part and attaching it first before we move on, I think. So let me just make sure this is properly dried. Okay. Yeah, we're fine. Okay, so I'm going to put this down. Now how I did this to make both of these, and there was a piece over as well, so you could definitely make something else. This is only half a sheet of cards, by the way. Let me just adjust the camera. There we go. Yeah, this is only just half a sheet of A4 card, so you could potentially get 3 projects out of this. Now, what size I put it, I have no idea. So the card is 5, so that'll be 4.5, 4.25. I bet it's 4x4. I hope it is. Yeah, I think it is. And if it's not, it'll be a different size. So let's see, which bit do I like the best? I think the top bit's got a little bit of each colour in. I kind of like that part as well. we'll see. And then this strip here is going to be the bookmark. Okay. So I don't know what size I'll cut it down to, but we'll figure that bit out as we go. Alright, so I've prepared a card which is, it's a 5x5 card, and I put this together beforehand just to save some time because you really don't want to watch me taking off double-sided tape for half an hour. So the card base is 325 GSM, just smooth white card, and then I've put onto it textured card, which I don't think my camera's going to pick up, or maybe a little bit. So it's like a linen effect cardstock, and the brand is Southfield, which is a UK company, but you know, Basil is kind of the same, and then there's a black one on in between. So there's 1/2 inch difference all the way around. So 5-inch card, 4.5 for the black, and then 1/4 less on here. So 4 1/4 for the white, and then this is 4 inches. Okay, so that's going to go onto there, like so. But I am going to ink the edges first. So because I put that black on there, I'm just going to take the ink pad around the edges. And I'm also going to add the little star brads. So I think I sponged it on the original one, but it's a lot blacker when you do it direct to paper. So let's undo that. I'm just going to pull that card out of the way because it is going to end up black because I'm not going to wash my hands in between. Yeah, that's right. It's carry for the sizes. It's a 5-inch card. The black mat is 4.5 inches square. The white mat is 4 1/4 inches square, and the piece of paper that we made is 4 inches square. Okay, so the edges are inked. The stars, which I've taken out the original packaging. You'll be proud of me, Carrie. I keep all the item numbers. So these are the Finnabar mechanicals, and they're little stars, and here is the item number. If it'll focus, it is 961169. Okay, and these are great. I love these. They're all different sizes. Let me just show you in case you've not seen them before. There's some little tiny ones in that are gold, and then there's the bigger ones as well in here. I don't think I'm doing a very good job of showing those, but you get the idea. There's different sizes. And there's a medium-sized silver. Oh, dear me. There we go. It's trying to show it without getting glare because the lamp right next to it. So I did use the bigger ones on there. But, I could have used the smaller ones. We could do something different, I guess. Seeing as it's the same product. I don't know. Let's stick with the plan, because if I start reinventing what I'm doing, it'll take me an hour to decide what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're just going to poke some holes through where I think I want them. So let's just line them a bit. Yeah, something like that, I think, is how I did the original. And if I want them straight, I guess I should use a little pencil to mark it. Although that's still no guarantee about that. Okay. So let me see if I can just poke these holes through without taking my fingers off. That was the medium sized ones I used. Okay. And when I attached the this card here, I used foam tape, which is what I'm going to do now. But if you don't want to, if you want it to lay flat, is what I'm trying to say, and you've got the legs of the brads in the way, you can always cut them off and use glue to glue these down, which I often do, because it drives me mad if they're not laying, you know, if a card's not laying completely flat. But sometimes you need them to be flatter for posting. But this is fairly flat anyway. I don't think this would be a massive issue to go through the mail. And I usually, if I mail something that's got brads and things on it though, I usually tend to put a piece of bubble wrap over the top in the envelope just to keep it a little safer. Right, okay, foam tape then, foam tape. So let's get this attached. And I've got no scissors in here, have I? Now there's something I didn't think of. I'll tear it. Really professional. I took my scissors. Yeah, I took my scissors downstairs, I think, to to trim the wicks on my candles. I don't think I brought them back up again. At least I know my tape tears easily. I'm going to try and avoid the brad legs, I think, because on this one I didn't, and it's not completely straight. You know, it's not lying completely straight, which drives me a bit mad. And I do tend to put quite a lot of tape on because it also drives me mad if it dips in the middle. Right. I really wish my scissors were up here. I must have 95 pairs of scissors and not one in here. Oh well, we'll deal with it. Okay. Just get a little bit by that edge. And then it's a good job nobody ever sees the backs, isn't it, hey? My professional job here. Alright, that'll do. Check the cards the right way round. You could actually leave it like this, but I like to embellish with doodling and things, so we'll do a little bit of that, and then this one will be done. And I didn't do the insides. I normally do the inside of cards as well, but I thought we'd run out of time. But you could totally use that spare piece, actually. That's what I was thinking of. You could totally use that spare piece to line maybe one side of the insert, or cut it with a die cut. Because I usually use die cuts and cut out an insert, but if you cut a die cut over the top of it, which is plain white, and then you'd have the pattern in the background to go on the inside, so you could definitely do that with the spare piece. I had to double check that I'd done this the right way around. Sometimes the writing on that stamp looks upside down to me, I don't know why. I think it's just, you know, because they stamp little bits of it. Right, so you could totally leave it like that and call that done. But I'm going to take a white pen and add some doodles to it, and it'll pop even more. And then I've just got a little bit of stickles on there too. Just checking my pen's working. It's testing a white pen on a white piece of cards. Not really the best way to see if it's working. And this is just a Uniball Signo pen, which normally I'd use my Posca paint pen, but it's ran out. So these are pretty good anyway. Lots of people like these. Yeah, it's not. I left this one out purposefully because it was working. Oh, there we go. Just needed to scribble with it. So I'm just going to outline the resist areas. To make them pop a little bit more. And you could really go to town on this and make, patterns with it. Double outline it, and or put little scallops on them. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. Then keeping it fairly simple. I think I changed it up a little bit on the bookmark and did a little bit more detail on that. This is it's something you need to take a bit of time on, really. I'm rushing it here and it's making the pen scratchy. But yeah, a little bit more time and it works a whole lot better. So the yellow ones, I should have really picked the other piece because the yellow in the middle of the card, it's not going to pop as well over yellow. But that's okay. I guess you could do, the ones over yellow you could totally do in black, or do one line of white, one line of black. Or even use the Posca paint pens come in all kinds of different colours. I never really thought to use these, but these kind of pens would look awesome on it. But yeah, I didn't think of that when I was actually making it, so we're sticking with this. I don't even know if that was a diamond. Well, it's a little diamond now. I think that was a bit of that picked up by accident, so we're going to make it into a little diamond. Okay. I think the white pen actually looks better on the camera than it does in real life. I don't know. It just whitens it a little bit more. I do like the double edge on. Did I do it on this one? Yeah, see on the bookmark I put a double edge on that, and then I put some little dots as well on it, and on the outside, so loads of things you could do with it. Right, let's get the last bit done. So the last bit, I put some stickles, or you could use fine glitter, but this is just a clear glitter, so you're still going to see the resist, you're still going to see the stamping. Now it will bleed a little bit, Distress inks are going to bleed, so that's just something to be aware of. If you stamped it with archival ink or something permanent, then it's not going to bleed. But to be honest, it doesn't bleed. It doesn't bleed so much that you can't read the text or anything. But it was stamp distressed, I can't read it anyway. So we'll just throw a bit of this on here for a little bit of added sparkle. And if you're not a glitter person, then, you know, leave it off. See, this is why I had to put the card together first, because there's no way I'd have been able to put it together with wet stickles on it. I suppose I could have embossed it, heat embossed it with some kind of glitter. And there's 100 ways of putting glitter on a project, isn't there? Okay. So if you wanted to repeat this, I would definitely, don't do it this way because I'm doing it for time. You know, don't assemble the cards and then try and put the glitter on, because it's a pain going around the stars and things. So it's only for time that I'm doing it this way. And I'm not doing the best job either because I just want to get it done. And then we can get the bookmark done as well. That'll only take a second or so. But you could make loads of these backgrounds, you know, in all different... You could do a whole sheet of them. Because this was only half a sheet, remember. You did a whole sheet of these backgrounds with all different colour schemes. If you're a card maker and you sell your cards, then you'd have loads of backgrounds for cards. Or you could use them for mini albums, if you're a scrapbooker. Or ATC backgrounds, or stick them in journals. There's all kinds of stuff you could do. You can do this kind of thing straight into a journal. Okay, one done. Now it's all sparkly. It's a shame it never picks up properly, sparkly stuff. But you get the idea. Next time I send them to you, Eileen. I might do that. I might. You never know. Might be waiting a while. Alright, bookmark. I do need to cut it down. I don't think I cut... I might cut a little bit off it. Let's just cut that down. Let's see. Not that it has to be this size, but it was the black. Again, it's that textured. Oh, I didn't like that. It's the black textured. It's like basil, but it's not. Basil cardstock. And that is in length 8 1/4 if you wanted a measurement. So it wasn't, no, it's not long enough that way. Yeah, 8 1/4, and then wide is 2 1/4. So let's cut that. Could you say that again? 8 1/4 by 2 1/4 for the backing piece. Now this, I think I kind of fudged it, and because it kind of goes, you know, just with the strip that I cut off. So if you use this, if you use A4 or A5 card, it was. This is what you'd have left after cutting off the 4. So I'm guessing it's about 1/4 less. Yeah, it's a little bit more than 1/4 inch. All right, let's see. So if that was 8 1/4, if I put this at 8, it should be somewhere near. just a tiny bit more because it was but you know, it doesn't matter, it's a bookmark. There's no it's not an exact science, is it? So I've just kind of fudged it and cut it until it looks right. So, you know, kind of the same thing again. I'm going to edge the sides with the black ink pad, the archival ink. Now I did use double-sided tape for this, not foam tape, because I don't really think you want foam tape on a bookmark, because that would make it a little too bulky, I guess, and you know, start to ruin your book. So I'm just using a double-sided tape. And if I wasn't doing this live, I'd wait for the ink around the edges to dry. But nothing matters too much. We're going onto a black background, so I think we're good with 2. I'll just put that. No, I'll do 3. It's just as easy to do 3 strips as cut little bits off the top and bottom. Okay. I'm just looking at the state of my nails. Oh well. Alright. What is it about the stamp? It always makes me think it's upside down when it's not. Right, oh, here's my other little trick. If you've watched my videos, you'll know this. If you don't peel off your tape completely, if you leave yourself little handles to hold on to, then this side, apart from your middle piece, which you kind of take off, but you can manoeuvre it and it's not going to stick. So you can get it all lined up exactly where you want it. And it's a lot easier than, you know, peel it all off and it's down and you can't move it. So good enough. There we go. So that's stuck down. And so on this one I did double lines around things and I put little dots. So I don't know how we're doing for time. I don't know whether I'll do all of this one because you've seen how to do it, but I might do the dots around the outside and double line a couple of things. Yeah, we'll do that. I just think dots around things finish it off nicely in the white pen. It looks even better if your pen's working properly, obviously. There's something stuck on the tip of this, but it's not giving me a nice round dot. But we'll live with it. Maybe it's because I'm trying to be quick. How are we doing? Let's. There we go, it's a little bit closer. You see all my mistakes, that a little bit closer now. There we go. They're not the bestest, roundest dots, but you know, you can test out a white pen all you want before you switch your camera on. But once that camera's on, they've got mind of their own. So let's just do the double outlining, just maybe on one to show you, and then we'll call it a day, I think, because we're kind of out of time. Now the other thing actually on this one, on both samples, I didn't finish the diamonds, you know, where the overlap shape was, so it looks like the overlap shape is on top. But on this one, I'm seeing what it's like going over the overlap shape, so it'll send it to the back more. And I'm struggling with the pen a little bit, but this is why I do prefer the Posca paint pens to these in some ways. These are a little bit whiter than Posca, possibly. And then let's put the dots inside. And in fact, let's do something different on this one. Let's do some stripes on it. Since the stripes will show up better, because this resist is a lot whiter than on the original sample. Let's do that little star as well. Okay, so that's slightly different than this one. So that one had the dots, that one's got some little lines. You could even put dots in the middle, or you could totally go back in with a black pen. That would look cool. And make it sort of a black and white. I really like black and white borders. And the only other thing I did on this one is, which I'm not going to do on there now because I've done the stripy border, but I did put a little bit of stickles down the double lines. But since I've just put stripes on there, I can't really do that. So that's kind of the gist of it. I'm kind of out of time, so I probably won't do any more of that, because, you know, it's only using a white pen. That's not working that well, so I'll not bore you with that. Now you can see, I'm just looking at this one now, I said the Distress inks would run a little bit. Do you see on the edge there? I don't think you can see that. There's a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of blue. I actually really like that effect. I like how it's bled over. You can still read the writing in the stamped areas. And see, that one bleds over at the top a little bit. I mean, it was sponged over there, but it's just bled a little bit. I like it. Okay, so I think that's us. I think that's it. I think we'll leave it there. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's, as I said at the beginning, it's you know, it's not a new technique by any stretch. It's a really old technique, but sometimes the old ones are the ones that get forgotten about. And you know, it's always good to go back to them when you've got new products to play with, and stencils and things like that. It is a Signo, yeah. It's a Signo Uniball. The pen. I do prefer the Posca paint pens. But these are a little bit whiter, I'm sure they are, and they're a little bit finer tip, but the Poscas never let me down. Even when I switch camera on, Poscas don't let me down. So I do prefer those. I will as well, just before I go, I'll go back to the announcements that I said at the beginning of the show, because I know there's people here now that weren't here at the very beginning. So there was 2 different announcements. One was to say that on Thursday, Robbie Herring is streaming. So that's this Thursday, the 18th of February at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, or 2:30 a.m. if you're me in the UK. And she's doing a home decor project using the new adhesive rub-ons and foils. So that's definitely going to be worth checking out. And also the second announcement that I said at the start of the show was that the Live with Prima minis, that are mini shows that are going to be 10 to 20 minutes, Monday to Friday, showing some of Prima's best products. So things like the new moulds and stamps, the adhesive rub-ons and foils, and mica powders. So if you want to make sure you don't miss any of those, be sure to follow Prima's channel and stay up to date on all the social media platforms, actually, because Carrie does a great job of making sure everybody knows what's going on. Okay, I think that is it then. Thanks everybody for being here. That was a lot of fun for me. I've not streamed for a long time. And yeah, I should see you again shortly. I think sometime in April. So thanks to Carrie for moderating, and everybody else for keeping the chat going. And that's it. Okay, bye.